Hi everyone, it's Melissa, and today I am sharing what I read in October. Initially, I wasn't going to film an October wrap up because I was really busy last month and didn't have very much time to read anything. And also, what I read was quite disappointing, but I thought my opinions might be of interest to some people, so I decided to do one anyway. So, I had a DNF and a 3-star and a 2-star in October. We'll start with the DNF, and sorry if this shocks some people because I know that this author and this book are much beloved by many of you. It's Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. Don't come for me, Gaskell fans, I know, but I've tried twice now. I tried reading this for Victober last year. I got a little past the third way mark, and I thought maybe I'm just not in the mood, it's not the right time, because I couldn't put my finger on anything specifically wrong with it. It's not like the writing was bad or that the plot was bad or anything, so I just thought, not in the mood, I'll try next year. So I picked it up again this year, and I got to the halfway point and decided just to permanently DNF it, because every time I went to pick it up, I felt like it was a chore that I was forcing myself to read on because I had to read this classic. And, well, that's not true. I don't have to read it because I wasn't enjoying it. And again, there wasn't anything super specifically wrong with it. I just found it overall quite dull. I didn't really care about the characters or what happened, so I wasn't compelled to read on to find out. I don't think the story was necessarily bad. I think the same plot in another writer's hands I would have enjoyed, but I just was overall just unenthused, bored by it. If you're a Gaskell fan, good for you. I know a lot of people love her, but this just wasn't it. The next book I read, well, the next two books I read on audio, and I have neglected to write down the narrator's name, so I'll make sure they're in the description box below. The next book was the 3-star, so I didn't dislike this book necessarily, but I didn't like it a whole lot either. It fell somewhere in the middle for me, and I probably wouldn't recommend it necessarily. And that is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I think this author's writing is probably to my taste, and I would read something else by Braithwaite, but this just bugged me for a couple of reasons towards the end of the book more so. The premise is that we have two sisters. The older sister is the responsible one. The younger sister is manipulative. She always gets her own way. She's gorgeous. Men fawn over her. And all of her boyfriends always end up dead. She always has some sort of excuse. They attacked her. It was self-defense. And therefore the older sister goes and helps her clean up her mess. Except now the younger sister has started dating a man that the older sister has feelings for. So that changes everything. And this was a really interesting premise, and I think overall I was pulled through the book by the story. I also really enjoyed the dynamic between the two sisters. That felt really real. The way that the older sister was intensely protective over her younger sister, but also extremely frustrated with her behavior, and that she always got her own way, not just with men, but with their mother, with everybody, and was jealous of her, really. So I thought that dynamic worked really well. What I didn't like was, because we're in the older sister's head, we really get to know her. We understand her feelings towards her sister, her feelings towards this other man that she's in love with. We understand her character. And partway through the novel, more towards the end of the novel, she starts making decisions that, in my opinion, really do not align with her character at all. We have grown to know her really well. We hear her innermost thoughts, and things just started to not make sense what she was doing. And it really felt to me like she was doing things because it furthered the plot, not because it was what she would actually have done. So that bothered me. And then the end, I just thought didn't work, didn't make sense, and it just kind of pulled me out of the story. I guess more of a mixed reaction to this book, but because I had such high hopes for it, it was a disappointment. The last book is my 2-star, and that is Endless Night by Agatha Christie. The only reason I didn't give this 1 star is because Agatha Christie's writing is fine. Like, the writing was good, but everything else was just not great. So the premise is this man and woman, they meet at this property in this wooded, like, rural area, this property that's been for sale in a long time. They both are there, like, looking at the property, and they meet and they fall in love and they end up getting married and buying this property that has been sitting on the market for a long time because there's, like, local superstition around it. It's said to be cursed. It's bad luck, whatever. The story just was so flat. The characters especially were flat. Like, I've only read 2 other Agatha Christie's, but there's usually this cast of characters that is really interesting to read about. And there was a small cast of characters in this, but none of them were really particularly interesting, especially the 2 leads, the husband and wife. The wife was window dressing. I mean, she didn't have a character. That was a major problem I had with the book. Another problem I had was that no one gets murdered until 70% of the way through this book. That could work if you're building all of the suspense around, is someone going to get killed? Is something going to happen? Or maybe it won't, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't feel that. I just felt like I was waiting impatiently for the story to get started. There's so much nothing that happens for 70% of the book. Finally, someone's murdered, but, and this is the greatest sin of all, the mystery is way too easy to solve. I solved this mystery in about, I don't know, a microsecond. If I was going to solve an Agatha Christie book, I want to have to work for it a little bit. I kept reading thinking that maybe she would pull some sort of double bluff or something, but nope, that was just the answer. I had just figured it out immediately. And that does not make for a very compelling mystery. So, Endless Night, it's a standalone, so I think you can just skip it. I definitely wouldn't recommend it. So, that was my fairly disappointing reading in the month of October. If you've read any of these, I would love to have a chat with you down in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll chat soon. Take care. Bye.